What's going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadskii, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. Today we're going to be talking about the Super Boss Kizuna this time around. If you guys hadn't seen the initial video that I did upload talking about the 10-star difficulty, which of course is the normal Kizuna Clash bosses, I'll go ahead and link that video in the top corner as a card. Make sure you go check it out so you guys know exactly what you need to do, because remember, you need to play the normal Kizuna in order to get the Super Boss coins in order to challenge the 15-star difficulty. So that's going to be a good opportunity to build teams for that. But now we're going to be talking about the big boy stuff, where we're trying to do as much damage as possible against all variations here. We're going to be going through only a single team for each of these variations, but of course, the amount of gimmicks that you have to deal with in these Super Boss Kizunas are a lot more dumbed down compared to what you have to deal with on the 10-star difficulty, because remember, you are mainly focusing on damage potential. So they don't really want to throw too many gimmicks in your face. They want to make it easier for you to complete, but you need to output serious damage. So that's where things will change. And of course, we're going to go through one different team in this video today for each variation. But of course, you can swap and change characters however you like, whatever you can do to support the gimmicks and the damage that you will require for your team's Super Boss Kizuna Clash boss. So without further ado, guys, let's go ahead and jump into it. Alright, so jumping into things, this is going to be the first boss, INT, 15-star difficulty Super Boss. Remember, on Battle 1, Driven, Free Spirit, and Cerebral will have minus 15 cooldown, but if you bring a character of one of those classes that is a dual unit or a versus unit, their versus effect or their super swap gauge is going to be completely maxed out when you start the quest as well, which makes things a bit easier. So it means characters such as Usopp and Yasop, which could be definitely a very valid option in this quest, their super swap will be maxed to get the resistance and just stuff like that. Obviously, the two new versus characters, or the new versus character with Kaido and Yamato, their gauge is going to be completely maxed for each of these fights, which does make things a bit more interesting. Now, Battle 2 for each of these super bosses is actually pretty straightforward. They only have 1.5 million HP, and there's no preemptive attack, which is actually really good. It means that you just have to do 1.5 million damage, which in Super Boss, you're going to be running two very good captains. That's not going to be very difficult to do, and in a lot of cases you can just do normal attacks in order to kill. However, whenever you kill these bosses on Battle 2, they're going to perform some type of action on you. Now when you defeat this boss, they're going to give you a 1.75 times color affinity boost for 10 turns. So the way that we're getting around it with this team is we're going to be using Sabo. Now Sabo, when we use him on stage 2, he's going to give us a color affinity boost. If you leave the stage with a color affinity boost, the enemy cannot apply their own version of color affinity to you. So he gives a 2.25 color affinity. If you hit 3 perfects, you get the big color affinity, 2.5 in the following turn. And it also does give you a 1.3 chain addition, which is kind of counterintuitive with what Nami tries to do, because Nami's boost will be actually a lot more significant. It is unfortunate, but Sabo just kind of works out really well for this team. Haven't really figured out too much that can kind of get around it. I guess technically you could use another special with a support that activates a color affinity, and then use another color affinity special on the next stage. There are different ways around it, but this is just one way. Another thing that I am a little bit concerned about, though, is I really hope that after using the special of Sabo that we can actually hit the 3 perfects. I have a feeling that we might actually kill before the 3rd perfect, depending on the type of the enemy on that stage, and also depending on how many matching slots we have on that stage will determine how effective those 3 perfects are going to be. We'll have to wait and see. But the boss stage is very simple. There's just a bunch of immunities, so you cannot inflict poison, defense down, or delay. And there's going to be a resistance buff, so the enemy takes 30% less damage from quick characters. Doesn't matter that much considering it's an INT boss, but I don't really understand why that's there, but it just means Robin on this team is going to be doing 30% less damage. Doesn't matter anyway, we can attack with her first. There is also going to be 4 turns of Despair. With Sockets, it goes down to 1. So we just need a 1-turn Despair removal, which is not very difficult at all. In this case here, we're using this Mole here, which does remove 1 turn of Despair or attack down whenever we're inflicted with it. So that is legit all you need. Just any type of support that gets rid of Despair. Not going to be very difficult to do. We do have this Brook attached to Nami. When we use her special, it will inflict us with a 1.1 chain multiplier buff, which will stack with chain addition. So that's really nice. Now, the way that this team is going to be working is we're going to be abusing the Luffy special by using our friend Captain Luffy here. Now, just depending on what kind of structure of team you want to go with, if you have a friend Captain Nami that is completely rainbowed, you can run your own Luffy and then a friend Captain Nami. Obviously, you lose the ability of the support, but that's completely fine. But Luffy, we can activate his special multiple different times. We can use the first special for the 3.25 attack boost, the second special for the 2.75 orb boost, and the third special to buff the attack and orb boost. So we get 3.5 times attack and a 3 times orb boost for the crew. We'll have a full border matching slots, which is really cool, and we can actually use then the ability of Nami, and you'll see why I say this in just a moment, but her superclass will change her own slot into tandem. It's very, very important that you do that before you activate the Yamato special, because remember, Yamato will change any matching slot into Wano, and the reason why we want to use Nami's superclass first, to keep the tandem slot, so that we can actually use her super tandem ability. Because by doing that, it means that we can get her super tandem ability to give us an additional attack boost, and also buff the conditional boost that Nami will provide to the crew. It's very important that you do that, otherwise you lose the tandem slot altogether, and then you can't activate the super tandem, which you lose out on a lot of damage. Which is why I'm saying, if you have a friend Captain Nami that has a much higher super tandem level, it's definitely going to work out better in your favor. Robin, of course, because she can give us the additional conditional boost. And then we have Sanji here because it's another Straw Hat which can trigger the Luffy to re-trigger his special, but also because it gives us a chain boundary effect. So why not, right? It makes perfect sense. So this team actually has a lot going for it, and the thing is as well, is the enemy is not fully immune to full debuffs, which means that when you use Yamato's boost to give you the full ward of Wano, it also gives you a chain boost, but it doesn't really matter because we already have one, but it can also inflict the increased damage taken to the enemy. So this team actually does do some really good damage, all things considered. You know, there's no real crazy good final tap aside from maybe Yamato or Luffy, depending on what you want to do there. But I think that this team should be okay. I think that there's going to be a lot better teams that will actually arise throughout the event period, but this team should be okay at least for the first few levels. So now we can take a look at the second super type boss, which is versus the quick variation. Now battle 1, int, quick and dex characters all receive cooldown. We're running a full dex team here, and also the switch ability and versus effect are fully charged, so Yamato's effect will be charged, which is fantastic. Once again, battle 2, 1.5 million damage, and there's two different gimmicks here. So the way that I see this, and I remember this occurring in a lot of previous super bosses, so I am assuming here that the same thing will happen. So if you do not kill the boss on battle 2, they're going to activate the first effect where it says after one turn has passed, and then typically they run away and nothing else happens. So I'm assuming the same thing here, because if that is the case, you can just stall one turn, and then you get inflicted with paralysis, and then Nami's captain ability will completely remove it and maximum charge her special. That is assuming everything works according in that way. We'll have to wait and see if that actually occurs. Then we can have a look at the final boss, which is very simple. There is just a full immunity buff and bind inflicted to your top row for 4 turns. So having an ability to remove bind is very useful here. Interestingly enough, there's actually not a lot of good characters you can use in terms of the supports to remove the bind. Of course, you could use the new support Rare Recruit Queen, attach that to Yamato, you're good to go. Alternatively, in this case, I was originally using Nami as the captain, but there was really no good options for bind. So switching the captains around, we have here with Ace attaching to Luffy to remove that bind for us. But just depending on how you want to go about it, I actually don't know which super tandem effect is better to use, rather it be Nami or Luffy. I think Luffy's is better, but I don't actually know off the top of my head which one is better. Nami's actually might be better because it gives 2.25 and then also gives the buff to the conditional. Either way, basically with this team, we're going to be having Yamato's effect to give us tandem and Wano slots, of course, and it does give us the defense damage reduction attack boost, which you can trigger with her versus effect. Nami's special and her super class will give you a mass chain boost and also mass base attack boost, and then the conditional boost, and then her super class gives you the actual conditional boost itself. Luffy's special gives you a huge orb boost, and his super class will buff that orb boost, which is great. Whitebeard will give you a chain boundary, Koala with a color affinity boost, and then you've got Zoro, which is a really neat addition on top because he makes your perfects become more significant. Instead of a 0.3 tap timing, it's a 0.6 tap timing, and he also gives you a chain multiplicative buff of a 1.5 chain multiplier. So you can actually get every single chain related buff on this team: chain multiplier, chain addition, tap timing chain, and chain boundary all in one. Attack orb boost, color affinity boost, super tandem, base attack boost. Like, there's a lot going on here. I think this team is going to do absolute numbers. Don't know the exact stats off the top of my head, but if everything works according to plan how I thought it would, Yeah, this team is going to be very, very strong. Now we can talk about the final super boss, which is the Psi variation, and shooters, free spirit, and driven characters all get max special charge, well, minus 15 special charge, and also max switch effect and versus effect gauge, which is great for Kaido in this instance here. Now, Battle 2, once again, 1.5 million HP, and when you defeat that boss, you get given a 2.75 times attack boost for 10 turns. Normally, that's pretty cool. However, we want something a little bit better than that. So we're going to be having Kaido. Remember, Kaido can remove beneficial effects when you launch his special, so it works very, very good for us. Now, on the boss stage, there is immunity to poison, defense down, delay, and there is a 10% resistance buff, so that is actually kind of annoying. It means that all of your damages is reduced by 10%. So I don't like that that's a thing, but there's not a lot that you can do in order to get around that. If you have the new queen, you can kind of mitigate that, but it is what it is. And to remove the attack down, we've just got the Cat Viper attached to Luffy crew. So the way this is going to work, we're going to use Blackbeard special first, which gives us the chain boundary effect. Kaido special removes beneficial effects, but it doesn't remove chain boundary because chain effects are counted as debuffs. So he doesn't actually remove it, which is great. So you get the Wano slots, we get the tandem slots, we get the attack and orb boost, and with his captain buff, it becomes a 3.5 orb boost and a 3.25 attack boost. Big Mom special after the fact, I don't think it's going to be stage 3, I think it's just going to be the stage 2 special, which will still give us the 2.25 conditional because the enemy can be hit with paralysis and the enemy can be hit with ignite. So Big Mom will give us that, and also a 1250 base attack boost. And then we've also got Kid special. Now Kid is very interesting because he'll give us the tap timing bonus buff to our driven characters. So characters that hit a perfect, instead of hitting 0.3, they'll get a 0.6 increase, which is good. And then Big Mom's super type will actually give us a 2.25 color affinity boost. Unfortunately, the super type of Big Mom is not buffed by the captain ability of Kaido because I believe he only buffs color affinity specials, not color affinity other effects, like through, you know, support and stuff like that, and also super types. And then, of course, we have the versus effect of Kaido, which gives a 1.5 increased damage taken to the enemy, which is great, and it does go through immunity buffs, which is great, so you get just a 50% bonus buff because of that. And also, because of the fact we're using Big Mom, we do actually become INT, super type, which is able to mitigate the enemy's super typing. All in all, this should do a lot of damage. I think this will do very, very good. I'm very, very excited to see this team in action, and especially with Luffy crew as well, being able to just multiply the damage even further is absurd. I'm really, really excited to see how this team is able to perform in the content. With all of that being said, that is going to wrap it up from me. Thank you so much for watching the video, guys. Let me know down below in the comment section, share your teams around with other individuals, and especially with your alliance to get prepared for this upcoming Kizuna clash versus Doflamingo. Really hope you guys are excited for this one. Thank you so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to go ahead and leave a like. And if you want to stay up to date with all the content I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. On that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.